or a background or experience to be president?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think she does. I mean, I've seen you, Chris, make some great comments. I mean, she has political savvy, as you know.
Yeah.
You've said that multiple times. But, when you have to, she left. She quit Alaska after 2 years. And unemployment was on the rise. There was big projects pending. She left. And the reality is, it takes a lot to be an executive, not just 2 years in the governor's position, but you got a lot more work to be done. And
what's her motive? What's her motive? That's my favorite question in politics. I mean, everybody's got a mix of motives, I suppose. But besides raw ambition to be noticed, what is it?
I don't know. I try not to put personal, like I said,
really,
I enjoyed
it's a
watching.
good question. Motive.
Well, it's a fair question, but I'm not, the personal motives, I can't tell you. I know she is very ambitious. She wants to be a player, as she tried to do this election. She's tried to be in the mix to make sure she has an input into who runs the country or who manages the affairs of Congress. The real issue, which I've noticed in the last 2 weeks, is what she spends a lot more time doing, is just calling people names. I mean, she calls Republicans names. She calls Democrats names. The question that's the bottom line is, what's her plan? What's her action? I don't care if she's thinking or not thinking about running for president. What the issue is, she's a political leader out there, and she needs to be stepping up to the plate with what her plans are. And all you hear, if you just disagree with her, you're going to be called a name. That's what I've learned with her. Let me give you a chance
to call her name. If she were on Jeopardy right now and the topic was national government, American government generally defined, would she look like an imbecile or would she look okay? Does she know anything?
Oh, I think she knows. Oh, I think she does. I've met with her multiple times when I was mayor, when she was governor. But, when I look at the amount of people who are going to be running on the Republican side, it's going to be a pretty mixed bag. But I would also say she caters to the, Republican primary type of voter. So in those primaries that are very strategically laid out, if you look at where she's laid out her, her marker on certain races, those are strategic locations for early primaries. And so she's thinking long term here. Don't be fooled. But I'll tell you.
Have you ever been an eyewitness to her actually reading something? Have you ever seen her? No, I'm dead serious about this. Have you ever seen her reading words on a piece of paper, a newspaper, magazine, anything? Have you ever seen her read something?
I've always, when I've been around her, when I was mayor, she was doing ribbon cuttings, things like that. She always had speeches that she had written remarks on. That's what I've known.
Okay, that's a safe answer.
But,
Thank you, sir.
It's not about Palin. It's about what's going to happen now in the next 2 years. It's going to be an exciting time.
Senator Mark Begich of Alaska, who is not in the position of trailing fill in the blank as Mr. Miller is at the moment in Alaska. Great thanks for your time. Great thanks for staying up with us.
Thank you, guys. You have a great evening.
All right. While we have time, and Harry Reid is still there to make his victory speech, and given what he did tonight, we should be waiting for him. He did the job, and his people did the job. Jonathan Alter of Newsweek and MSNBC joins us now. A photograph has been presented of President Obama on the phone to Speaker Presumptive Boehner tonight. And describe what we know early on about the relationship between the White House and this new, he looks enthused as heck.
It's Saturday Night Live. It is Saturday Night Live.
Describe what we know so far about this impending relationship between a Democratic president and a Republican House.
It just has not been a good relationship. The president told me in an interview last year that the biggest surprise of his presidency was that when he went over and met just with Republicans in the House of Representatives less than a month after he was sworn in, he thought that they were going to negotiate over what the recovery program would be. And Boehner instructed every member of the Republican caucus, no, we are not going to vote with the president, period. No negotiations. So he was ready to take out anything they objected to and, come to some kind of deal when the economy was cratering. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month, and Boehner wouldn't play. The president was resentful, might be too strong a word, but he was not impressed with that. He didn't think it was a stand-up thing to do. He thought they would be more interested in governing. And in the time since then, he said privately, all I want for Christmas is a Republican opposition that I can negotiate with. And David Broder had that in a column not too long ago. And the idea that, he will now sit down with them, it's inevitable. He does play golf. Boehner plays golf. They have some common interests, and they're going to have to learn how to work together.
But they wouldn't be able to decide who gets to tee off first.
Well, you know what? It's in their mutual interest, Keith, to put some points on the board, as Obama likes to say, on education. You know, Boehner was actually involved with Ted Kennedy and former President Bush on education reform. It's an issue that he feels strongly about, and there's real areas of agreement on that, perhaps on some clean energy legislation, some tax legislation for small business. They can find some common ground. But if they show achievement together, they both win. That's what Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton found in 1995. So it's not as if, you know, there's going to be necessarily super gridlock on every issue, although that's conventional wisdom right now in Washington.
Because the last 2 years of Democratic-Republican cooperation, when Democrats held a whip in both hands, worked so well.
But, you know, now the Republicans have a different incentive. For the last 2 years, it was just obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. No, no, no. That doesn't work for them moving forward. That's not a good position to be in going into 2012. So I don't want to be Pollyannish about this. I think, you know, on the larger issues, they're not going to get much done of significance, but there are a few discrete areas that they'll probably inflate to try to say to the American public that Washington isn't totally dysfunctional, which is in both of their interests.
Save National Pie Day.
Should be a little bit better than that.
It's Rachel here. In what sense how would the Republicans have concluded that obstruction only didn't work for them? And in what way did it not work for them? And would they be likely to turn over their obstruction agenda towards 2012? It seems like it's worked great.
But there's nothing right now to obstruct because Obama got most of what he wanted through, okay? So the question will quickly become, can the GOP show that they have any ability to govern? The onus will be on them. Again, I think that the odds are still for super gridlock, generally speaking, nothing big happening for the country. But there's certain things that have to be reauthorized. For instance, you know, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which used to be called No Child Left Behind. They've left the name behind now. They're going to call it something else. But that is coming up at the beginning of next year. They will have to come to some agreement on that. There's certain things that relate to the functioning of government, not just the debt ceiling, but a whole lot of other things that, you know, Boehner, who has some experience in the House, will have to figure out how to cooperate with the administration on. What will get much more of the publicity is when they're at loggerheads, and there'll be plenty of that.
Jonathan, it's Lawrence O'Donnell. No Child Left Behind was passed before the Republicans in the House had a significant wing that wants to abolish the Department of Education. John Boehner has a whole new set of calculations to make about what the Republicans are capable of backing, if anything, on education. Nothing in the education universe has to be reauthorized. No Child Left Behind can be left to die by John Boehner and the Republican Congress. I don't see any reason why they need to.
You know what? The numbers on abolishing the Department of Education are not good. They are not high. And there are an awful lot of local school districts in Republican areas that want that, you know, Title I money or other aid from Washington. So, and Boehner knows this, so there will be a struggle, a big schism within the Republican Party. But at the end of the day, Boehner has a responsibility to bridge those divisions and show that he can produce. If he can't, he's not going to be looking good.
Jonathan Alter, great thanks. As you see, Harry Reid and the smile that rarely appears on camera, broad and genuine as he steps out towards the podium and also defies the wisdom that was beginning to build up that there was a Spinal Tap thing going on here, like in that movie where he just sort of got stuck somewhere in the back and couldn't find the stage.
Let's just review what this candidate did. He did something that I have not seen a modern politician do. He brought a health care bill forward in the Senate that he knew was unpopular in his state, that could lead to his defeat, and he advanced it anyway.
All right, one thing before Mr. Reid speaks. Chuck Todd, 30 seconds on this error in counting in Colorado.
It's a Boulder County error, and it did sort of mess around. There have been a couple of problems in Colorado with the vote. Here's what I can tell you. There's about a 400 vote difference at this point. Half the vote seems to be missing out of Boulder. Half the vote still uncounted in Denver. that would portend to be good news for Mr. Bennett. But look, Colorado's been a funky vote counting state all night, guys.
We're not going to get
vote missing in Boulder.
Missing. We're not going to get it tonight, you're saying?
No. It's missing as in uncounted there, Rachel.
All right, good.
Sorry about that.
Look, error by the Associated Press is not usually a good reason for deciding a senatorial race or anything else bigger than a Little League ball game.
That's right.
So anything's possible at this point. All right, Chuck,
guys.
keep working that, and we'll now listen to Harry Reid on his night of great triumph. Here he is.
Yes, we did. Today, Nevada chose hope over fear. Nevada chose to move forward, not backwards. Nevada made this choice because we know it's not about us versus them. It's about every Nevadan, all of us, in this together. Today you made possible what many called impossible. And I'm grateful you did. Not for me, but for the future we all share as Nevadans. First, let me thank my wife. My wife and my best friend. I wanted you by my side since the first time I saw you. And you've been there ever since, every step of the way. To my family, my tireless staff, and all my generous volunteers, I wish my voice could convey what's in my heart. That's thank you, thank you, thank you. You never gave up. You never gave up. Because you know Nevadans never give up. I know how hard you worked, and I appreciate each minute you spent, each hour, days, weeks, months, and years. And I thank the people of Nevada. It's always been my honor to represent the state, to serve the state, and to fight for the state, and to fight for each of you. And friends, I'm not finished fighting. In fact, tonight, I'm more determined than ever. You see, I've been in some pretty tough fights in my day. They've been in the street, they've been in a boxing ring, and they've been in the United States Senate. But I have to admit, this has been one of the toughest. But it's nothing compared to the fights families are facing all over Nevada right now. This race has been called, but the fight is far from over. The bell that just rang isn't the end of the fight, it's the start of the next round. I know a lot of Nevadans feel like they've been counted out. But you know, I know what that's like. I've taken on powerful forces. No one dared to challenge them. And I've run in some tough elections. No one thought I could win. So I know what it's like to have the odds stacked against you. I know what it's like to take a punch. I've taken a few. But more importantly, I know what it's like to get back on your feet. My story My story and this night prove that difficult isn't synonymous with impossible. And we're proof that a test is tough only if you're not tough. My career and this campaign have been driven by a simple belief. If a poor kid from Searchlight can make it, anybody can make it. Everyone in Nevada deserves a chance. Everyone in America deserves a chance. Nevada's going to recover. Nevada's going to recover. Nevada's going to prosper. And Nevada's going to lead. We're going to bounce back stronger than ever. I've never counted Nevada out, and I'm not about to start right now. I think you know that about me. You also know the balloons and ballrooms aren't my style. They're not my thing. So everybody enjoy tonight. But remember tomorrow. It's back to work for the people of Nevada. You see, tomorrow morning, there will still be too few jobs for too many people. There will still be too many foreclosure signs in too many front yards. There will still be too many kids in crowded classrooms and too many students wondering how can they afford college. But your hard work, and it has been really hard, has given Nevada the chance to believe again that tomorrow isn't impossible. So before I finish here tonight, I want to invite on stage just a handful of those who made tonight possible. My family, my friends, my staff, they all made tonight possible. Because of you, tonight, because of you, we didn't just make history, we made a lot of futures. Because of you, we did it. Thank you.
Harry Reid, still the Senate Majority Leader, returned to his seat and presumably still in charge. Nobody's going to challenge him after that victory, I don't think. That's going to wrap up what we do here for Lawrence O'Donnell and Eugene Robinson and Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow. It's been a pleasure to share the desk with you, lady and gentlemen. And we will leave you in the capable hands of Chris Jansing after a break. There are three big stories still going on that are worth sticking around with Chris. Alaska looks to be going to the write-in candidate. Might be Lisa Murkowski, might be something else. It's like a box of Cracker Jack. You never know. Colorado's vote is anybody's guess because of typos reported by the Associated Press, supposedly from Boulder, Colorado. But now the recorder in Boulder, Colorado is saying it's leaving here fine. There's no problem in Colorado. And Washington State Senate race is still too close to call. Your headlines, the Democrats are going to retain the Senate one way or the other, too early to call. And the House went clearly and decisively to the Republicans. So that'll wrap us up. Chris is next. MSNBC's coverage continues right after this.
Hey, babe.
Oh, hi, honey. So I went to the doctor today, then picked up a few extra things for the baby.
Oh, boy.
I used our Slate card with Blueprint. We can design our own plan.